الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala from the book of al-Murbi and the last two conditions from the conditions of the Salah, شروط الصلاة. We stopped where he said ومنها أي من شروط الصلاة استقبال القبلة, to face the Qibla. One of the conditions of the Salah is to face the Qibla. And one of the characteristics of a shart or a condition that it has to be at all times till the end of the ibadah. So many of the rulings that we would see, that even the masail that are mentioned, is because of this, because of the subject of al-istishab that has to be continuously present. So someone in the salah from takbiratul ihram till he makes the salam, he's supposed to face the qibla, not just something that is finished as the arkan. A rukn, you pray a rukn, one of the pillars of the salah, and then you go to the next rukn, standing, then ruku', then sujood. But something like satrul awra, covering the awra, facing the qibla, this is the entire salah supposed to be observing this condition. So he says ومنها أي من شروط الصلاة استقبال القبلة. And the استقبال, that means to face. استقبال, this is the action of facing the qibla. So facing the qibla, قبال وجه المصلي, that means in front of the face of the musalli. القبلة أي الكعبة. القبلة is the Kaaba, أو جهتها, or the direction of the Kaaba. And this will be mentioned in details, because the Qibla for the one that sees the Kaaba inside of the Masjid al-Haram, as it's going to be mentioned, is to face the Kaaba itself. And the one that is outside the Masjid al-Haram is to face the Jiha, the Masjid. And then if a person is outside of Mecca, is to face Mecca. So it doesn't have to hit exactly the Kaaba, أو جهتها, or its direction. He says سميت قبلة. Why it's called Qibla? What's the reason that it's called Qibla? لإقبال الناس عليها. القبلة from الإقبال, أقبل يقبل, لإقبال الناس عليها, because the people, they face it, they go towards it. This is where the hearts of the believers attached to the Qibla. And that's when a person goes fulfill the Hajj or the Umrah, he finally gets to see the Qibla that he faces. لإقبال الناس عليها. قال تعالى فولي وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام. فولي, turn your face, شطر, towards المسجد الحرام. And of course we're dealing with the matters that is related to fiqh matters, but of course everything has great wisdom. This is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the perfect way of everything. So one of which is for that to be a condition in the salah. The entire ummah is facing one qibla, and that's why even the ulama, they talk about Ahl al-Qibla. Ahl al-Qibla, the people of al-Qibla, with even their deviations. If they are from Ahl al-Qibla, there are rites to be observed to Ahl al-Qibla, and one of which is to eat their dhabiha and the like of this. So he says here, فَلَا تَصِحُّ, we're reading both. فَلَا تَصِحُّ الصَّلَاةُ بِدُونِهِ, أي بدون الاستقبال. فَلَا تَصِحُّ, the salah is not valid without it, meaning without istiqbal, without facing the qibla. Illa, now there's exceptions here, and there's going to be many masail, and if a person wants to give them numbers, make it easy to remember, but it's going to be all over the place, inshallah. So he says, إِلَّا لِعَاجِز. So this is shart, it has to be done, except for ajiz. Someone has inability to face the qibla. And this is a rule in the deen. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You fear Allah to the best of your ability. إِلَّا لِعَاجِز. And also the wajib, or the obligation, يسقط الواجب بالعجز. The wajib, the obligation, becomes not obligation if a person is unable to do it, if he doesn't have the ability to do it. So إلا لعاجز. What is the ajiz? Because it's not left to one's desire, who's able, who's not able. كالمربوط لغير القبلة. Someone that is marbut. And marbut is the one that is tied. Someone is tied to face other than the qibla, imprisoned or something like this. So they tie him to face other than the qibla, and there's no way for him to untie himself. So in that case, he has to pray, and he has to pray on time. Not facing the Qibla, yes. And this is a valid excuse. والمصلوب, المصلوب from الصليب, the one that is crucified. They have him crucified. وعند اشتداد الحرب. وعند اشتداد الحرب, and when the war is intensified. That means people are not able to stand. They're not even able to make Salatul Khawf. Because Salatul Khawf, the Salah of fear in the battlefield, there is its rulings. And we'll talk about that inshallah ta'ala later, inshallah ta'ala, in the book. But here, when اشتداد الحرب, that means they are running and they're moving, and the time of the Salah is there, and they have to pray. And it shows the importance of the Salah. Even when they are in war, in the battlefield, then in that case, they don't have to face the Qibla. They face whatever directions they go while the fighting is on. They still have to make the Salah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran, فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا, even running, riding, and they would make ruku' with ima, with the lowering their head for ruku' and lower, much lower for sujood, if they're not able to stop and make sujood and ruku'. So these are exceptions for as an excuses for not facing the Qibla. So, and these examples, it's not the only examples, but it shows that the matter is a matter of necessity. Not that a person doesn't feel like facing the Qibla or it's going to be a little bit difficult for him. No, facing the Qibla is a condition. A person has to face the Qibla. Also, وَإِلَّا لِمُتَنَفِّلٍ. So you can count how many cases here. وإلا except لمتنفل راكب سائر لا نازل في سفر مباح. Here go word by word, and also except for a متنفل. متنفل, someone is praying nafl, but not only nafl, and he's راكب, he's riding on an animal, in the car, doesn't matter. راكب. سائر, that means he is moving, on the move. لا نازل. نازل is the opposite of سائر. نازل from النزول, coming down. So a sa'ir is the one that is on the move. He's while traveling. But if he stops at a rest area, stop to rest, then this exception does not apply for that person. So it has to be with all of these conditions. Mutanaffil, praying nafl. That means fard doesn't work in this case. Fard, a person has to face the qibla unless he's not able to, which is again here mutanaffil, having the choice, but he can choose not to face the qibla. If he's mutanaffil, rakib, riding, sa'ir, on the move, moving, la nazil, not someone that came down from the movement of while traveling. Fi safar, in traveling, so not any move, in traveling, and the traveling has to be mubah. Mubah, that means it's permissible. Because as mentioned before, al-rukhas, when it comes to breaks or ease, the one that is traveling with the ahkam of a safar and the ease that comes with it, the one that is traveling safar ma'siyah, according to the madhab, he is not to take the ease of ahkam al-safar. So someone traveling to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he is not to shorten his salah. Because the rukhas is only to be given to those who are obedient to Allah. So the same thing for someone to not to face the qibla if he's praying nafl and he's riding and he's moving and he's traveling, but for safarin mubah, in the permissible traveling. طويل أو قصير, whether the traveling is long or short, whether it's a long traveling or a short traveling, it doesn't matter, all of that is valid. With more conditions. إذا كان يقصد جهة معينة. All of these conditions is what? Is for someone that is permissive for him not to face the qibla while traveling. If he is facing or going to a specific direction, something that he's traveling to, what does that mean? Someone is traveling from one city to the other or going to a specific spot. This is what is meant. But someone, as they say, هائم على وجهه, someone is just want to go out and just drive around. Traveling, but he doesn't know where he's going. He's just driving around or traveling for the sake of traveling, doesn't know where he's going. Right? So this then does not apply to him. And the ulama, they mentioned why this is mentioned is because to avoid al-abath, to avoid just being playful. You know, this is deen, this is ahkam. So someone is just doing nonsense. These matters does not apply to him. Another opinion, if it's traveling, that means everything applies. But you don't have to be like some of these masail, we have to be careful also from the waswas. Right? Does a person has to make sure that he has intention where he's going and things like this. Usually people travel for a reason. So, but someone just being playful or someone that doesn't have a place or destination, then فله أن يتطوع. If all of these conditions are met, then فله أن يتطوع على راحلته حيثما توجهت به. Then for him, it's valid for him أن يتطوع, to pray تطوع نفل على راحلته, on his mount, on his animal, on his car, the plane, حيثما توجهت به, whatever direction it faces. So if someone is sitting in a plane or in his car or anything that is moving and he's traveling, he can pray nafil without having to face the qibla. And he can even pray sitting, pray sitting, not facing, he doesn't have to even face the qibla, from the first start, even though it's mentioned here, يلزمه إن أمكنه ذلك. So this is فله أن, that's the حكم, فله أن يتطوع على راحلته حيثما توجهت به. And again, we're only focusing on استقبال القبلة, facing the qibla only. ويلزمه افتتاح الصلاة بالإحرام إن أمكنه إليها, أي القبلة. يلزمه, that means it's upon him, he has to, افتتاح الصلاة, to initiate the salah, تكبيرة الإحرام, بالإحرام, by saying الله أكبر in the beginning of the salah, إن أمكنه, if he's able to, إليها, towards the qibla, أي إلى القبلة بالدابة أو بنفسه. Whether it's with the dabba, with the mount, with the thing that he's riding on, to move it so that it all faces the qibla for takbiratul ihram, and then he continues in his direction for the rest of the salah, أو بنفسه, or his own self. He faces the qibla to say Allahu Akbar, and then he continues the salah in whatever direction that the dabba or the mount that he is on is moving. This is in amkanahu, if he's able to do so. And all of that again is for the nafl. The fard, no. When is the fard valid for a person to do these types of things? If he's not able to. So then he goes to the marbut, and this is where, for example, people are in an airplane, where he's going to pray. This is the only way that he can pray, which is something that can be mentioned later, inshallah. But again, here we're just looking into the original masail here to understand it. So ويلزمه افتتاح الصلاة بالإحرام إن أمكنه إليها, towards it, towards the qibla, أي إلى القبلة بالدابة أو بنفسه, with the dabba or his own self. ويركع ويسجد إن أمكن بلا مشقة, and to make ركوع and sujood if feasible, إن أمكن, بلا مشقة, without hardship, without difficulty. وإلا فإلى جهة سيره. So if it's easy for him to face the qibla, face the qibla. But if it's not, there's no need to burden himself. He can face whatever direction. And the Prophet ﷺ, he prayed. He used to pray even witr ﷺ on the dabba حيثما توجهت به. Whatever it takes direction, he ﷺ does not turn himself away from the direction of the camel when it was riding. وإلا فإلى جهة سيره. If it's not easy to face the qibla, then to the direction of his sayr, or the movement. And this is what the sunnah is, without be at ease with it. وَيُومِئُ بِهِمَا. يُومِئ, al-ima is to move the head forward. And part of the ima, either to move the head only for a little bit for the ruku', and then for the sujood is more, or the entire upper part of the body, this is also valid. These two opinions are there. The upper part to go forward a little bit for ruku', and then more for sujood. So وَيُومِئُ بِهِمَا وَيَجْعَلُ سُجُودَهُ أَخْفَض, and he makes his sujood أخفض, much lower than the ruku'. So it's not the same إيماء, the sujood is more أخفض من الركوع. Then he says وراكب, this is in the road, وراكب المحفة الواسعة والسفينة والراحلة الواقفة يلزمه الاستقبال في كل صلاته. راكب المحفة, this is المحفة الواسعة. المحفة is where they used to they put it on the camel, الهودج, where they put the women inside, or like a room, like a box. They put it on top of the camel. This is al-mahaffa. It's a big thing, like a room they have. So in these cases, something spacious like this, al-mahaffa al-wasi'a, was-safina, and the ship, wal-rahila al-waqifa, and the al-rahila, whatever a person is on, but it's standing, it's not moving. يلزمه الاستقبال في كل صلاته. Then facing the Qibla becomes obligatory upon him, because there's no need for him, there's no difficulty for him to face the Qibla. So for example, if someone is in, if there's a first class that would allow this, but big room, like as if he has in a first class, where it's a room where he can stand and he can move directions, right? Then he has no excuse. He can face the Qibla. But if it's tight for him, and this is again the subject of the plane, if there's a space, like for example in some of the airlines, you have a room for the salah, mashallah. But if there's no space, and the only space, for example, is the path of the people, it's not permissible to pray in the path of the people, to make it difficult for them. And we talked about qari'at al-tariq, the path of the people, you stop the people from moving, that's not permissible. And say, for example, there's no other space, nothing whatsoever. Then فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, to pray with whatever means that a person have in this case. So وراكب المحفة الواسعة والسفينة والرحيلة الواقفة يلزم الاستقبال في كل صلاة. Then continuing, وإلا لمسافر ماشٍ وماشٍ. Now the different types of people when they're traveling. And also as an exception, مسافر, someone that is traveling and he's ماشٍ. ماشٍ is the ماشي, when someone is walking. قياسا على الراكب. So the one that can make salah and not face the Qibla, even if he's walking. He's traveling and walking. And you know how people would travel in the past walking. They're walking in a group, like with a caravan. He cannot just stop. He has to be with them. Some people are riding and some people are walking. So the walking takes the same ruling as the one that is riding. He has no ease to stop and sit. It's not like when a person is just walking in the street. So وإلا لمسافر ماشٍ قياسا على الراكب, with the same ruling analogy with the الراكب or the riding. ويلزمه, then this is in the case of the ماشي, the one that is walking, then it's upon him. الإلزام here, that means it's mandatory upon him. أي الماشي الافتتاح إليها. For the ماشي, he has to face the Qibla to start the Salah, because it's easier for him. All of these masail, why the details, is for us to understand the essence of it. So that when things even come up similar, then the person understand where is that coming from. So all of that is to show the importance of this is a condition, and whatever a person is able to do, then he should do what he's able to do. If he's not, then the matter is easy. So someone that is walking is different than someone is riding. And if someone is riding and the matter is easy, then he should face the Qibla. So here, at least to face it when he starts the Salah, because he's walking, so it's easier for him. والركوع والسجود إليها, and also to make ركوع and سجود facing the Qibla, أي القبلة لتيسر ذلك عليه, because this is easy for him. What if it's not easy? Then he goes to the first ruling. He says وإن داس النجاسة عمدا بطلت. If he's walking and he steps on a najasa while in the Salah, the command to be away from najasa on one's body, one's clothing, the spot that a person is praying on, and he's moving. If a person is standing, he already knows that the spot that he's praying on is clean. But when someone is moving, anything can happen. So وَإِنْ دَاسَ النَّجَاسَةَ عَمْدًا, if he steps on najasa while walking and he's making salah intentionally, he steps on the najasa, batalat. His salah becomes invalid. وَإِنْ دَاسَهَا مَرْكُوبُهُ فَلَا, if whatever he rides on steps on the najasa, his salah is valid. So it's only for the mashi, only for the one that is walking, if he steps on the najasa intentionally. If it's by mistake, there's no harm. Please. وَإِنْ دَاسَهَا مَرْكُوبُهُ, the markub, whatever he rides on, then it's okay if it touches or it steps on najasa, because it's not him. Then more of these masail. وَإِن لَمْ يُعْذَرْ مَنْ عَدَلَتْ بِهِ دَابَّتُهُ. Now the rulings, if the dabba turns away, Here the rukhsa is for a person to pray wherever the dabba is going. The first is to face the qibla, which is very obvious. If he's riding, he's given there's a permissibility here to face the direction of the dabba. So facing the direction of the dabba becomes part of what's permissible. What if it faces something else? This is basically here. وَإِن لَمْ يُعْذَرْ مَنْ عَدَلَتْ بِهِ دَبَّتُهُ. The dabba is going north. That's the direction. But then all of a sudden start acting strange and it start going to the east. Right? This is basically what this means. وَإِن لَمْ يُعْذَرْ, if he does not have an excuse, مَنْ عَدَلَتْ بِهِ دَبَّتُهُ. عَدَلَت, that means swerved away, turned the dabba away from its direction. أو عدل إلى غير القبلة عن جهة سيره مع علمه, or removed from the direction of the qibla عن جهة سيره. He's already away from the qibla and it's okay for him if it's the جهة السير. This is his aim, this is his destination, direction, all of that is valid. But turned away while knowing. So while knowing that he's going away, he wants to just take a detour left or right. أو عذر وطال عدوله عرفا, or he had an excuse. So the two cases here, he did not have an excuse. Either the dabba itself moved or he moved, right, from the direction that he's going to. The third one, أو عذر, he had an excuse. He was sleeping, for example. He had an excuse, but وطال عدوله عرفا, and him moving away from the direction becomes a long time. Urfan, as the urf looks like it's been a while that he turned away from the qibla. Batalat. Of course, if he's sleeping, how he's going to be making salah. But if it's with udhr, right? The wind, if he's riding an animal, or the plane, instead of going to the direction, something bumpy, I'm not sure, I'm just saying, or riding a bus. If the road itself goes left and right, that's the direction, right? But if it takes another route, stops for or want to go for to put gas, for example, so it takes right, not necessarily gas. I'm just saying, I'm making up anything. So instead of going this way, so they decided they just want to stop by a candy store somewhere. So it goes this way. He was making salah. He was making salah in the direction of his destination. Now it's going somewhere else. This is not his direction. This is where these things are mentioned here. So why this is mentioned? Because what permitted for the one making salah to not to face the qibla is the fact that he's on a dabba, and the jihat al-dabba, this is what's sufficient for him. But now it's not jihat al-dabba, it's not the direction of the dabba, it's not his direction. That means the salah is not valid, because that means he's not facing the qibla and not facing what's permissible for him what to face. Is it clear? In these three cases, the animal itself or the whatever he rides moves, or he himself, or, and this is without an excuse, or you have an excuse but it's a long time, then batalat salatuhu would be in this case. Then وَفَرْضُ مَنْ قَرُبَ مِنَ الْقِبْلَةِ. So this is with all of these masail for the one that is traveling for the praying the nafl salah. The fard, as we see, it's not permissible unless a person would miss salatul fard if he waits till he reaches destination, because he's in a plane, for example. Then in this case, he has to pray with whatever means that he has. If he's able to stand, then he should stand. Or here we're talking only about the qibla. For the most part, a person in the plane, even for the fard salah, he can face the qibla for takbiratul ihram. So this is, for the most part, there's no excuse. He can stand and face the qibla, say Allahu Akbar, and then turns the other direction where he's on, then he continues the salah. If this is the only way, at least takbiratul ihram. And then the issue of standing or sitting, according also to what's feasible. If he's able to stand, then he stand. If he's not able to, then stand in his position. If he's not able to do that, then it's very tight and it's difficult, then to sit down, according to what's one's capacity. But we're not talking about this here. This is just istiqbal al-qibla and the travelers, and even walking, that it's permissible to pray the nafl, not the fard. Clear? And then he says, وَفَرْضُ مَنْ قَرُبَ مِنَ الْقِبْلَةِ. Now, going to the Qibla, facing now, going back to facing the Qibla. Either a person is close to the Qibla or far from the Qibla. So وَفَرْضُ مَنْ قَرُبَ مِنَ الْقِبْلَة, فرض, obligation, for those who are close to the Qibla, أي الكعبة, وهو من أمكنه معاينته. What's the qurb? What's the nearness? That he's able to see the Kaaba. He's seeing the Kaaba. أو الخبر عن يقين, or someone is informing him عن يقين, from certainty, because he's blind, or it's too crowded in the masjid and he can't see the Qibla itself, but he's in the masjid. And of course, many places in the Masjid al-Haram, you don't see the Kaaba, right? But someone, or the direction is by certainty, this is the direction of the Kaaba. So he's qarib, he's near. Fardun him isabatu ayniha. He has to face the Kaaba itself. Isabatu ayniha. Al-ayn is the eyes, right? But the ta'yin or aynu shay, that means the specific object. So this is aynuha, that means its physical part. So he has to face if you draw a line, he has to hit the Kaaba, because he's near to the Kaaba. بِبَدَنِهِ كُلِّهِ, with all of his body. So you can imagine, say for example, someone is very close to the Kaaba, very, very close, by the Hajar al-Aswad, by the edge, right, by the corner. And say for example, he, instead of facing the Kaaba, he goes just a little bit like this. He's not facing the Kaaba. And his salah is not valid, because he has to face the Kaaba itself. So any small movement can make the person face not the Kaaba. Even though the same direction like this, if it's one that is far away, his salah is valid, because he only have to face the direction of it. So this is for the one that is very close to the Kaaba. Either in أمكن معاينته, he's able to see it, أو الخبر عن يقين, that is very close to it and it's known that this is the Kaaba. إصابة عينها ببدنه كله, he has to face the Kaaba with his entire body. بحيث لا يخرج شيء منه عن الكعبة, so that none of his body will go out from the Kaaba when facing it. ولا يضر علو ولا نزول. It's not harmful if he's above the Kaaba or under the Kaaba. So in the second floor, third floor, he's facing the air, that's fine. Or in the basement, all of that is fine. But it's about the direction, the place, the position of the Kaaba. That if he's close. وَفَرْضُ مَنْ بَعُدْ. What's the fard? What's the obligation for the one that is away from the Kaaba? عن الكعبة استقبال جهتها. To face the jihah, the direction of the Kaaba. Not the Kaaba itself, but the direction. So if the Kaaba is towards the east, then he faces the east. If it's the north, then it's the north, like this. فلا يضر التيامن ولا التياسر اليسيران عرفا. So التيامن لا يضر, it's not harmful. التيامن from اليمين, التيامن is the act of facing the right. اليمين is right? التيامن, التفاعل, that you are doing something to make yourself to move a little bit towards the right. ولا التياسر, and also it does not harm to move a little bit to the left. اليسيران, slight, small. And it's dual because التيامن والتياسر. عرفا, again, as a person would perceive it, as a person would see it. So if إلا من كان بمسجده صلى الله عليه وسلم. So this is the issue with the Qibla, and it doesn't have to be extremely precise. If it's the direction, if they say northeast, then if it doesn't have to be 49.5, things like this. Northeast, northeast. If it's east, east. Even if it's a little bit this way or that way, there's no harm. It's a direction, and this also will be mentioned in where people do not know where the Qibla is, and people would make ijtihad, then this would have its effect. So remember that when it comes. لا يضر التيامن ولا التياسر اليسيران. عرفا, sometimes people, when they use the phones or things like this, the Qibla is this, and someone says, no, it's a little bit this way, like this. It doesn't matter. This is very slight differences, but if it's this or this, and that's a big difference, of course. So, but slight right to the left or so, the matter is easy. إلا, then it matters if, except من كان بمسجده صلى الله عليه وسلم. However, in the masjid of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, then it harms if you go to a little bit to the right or to the left, because the Qibla is established with certainty. We know that, and this is at their time and at all times. The Qibla in the masjid of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, one one way and nothing else. لأن قبلته متيقنة, because the qibla of the masjid of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام is with certainty, of course. فإن أخبره بالقبلة مكلف. Now it's a person is not really sure where the qibla is. There's many مسائل here. We hope we can finish it before Salah, I'm not sure. فإن أخبره بالقبلة مكلف. If pay attention inshallah, because you see how things are in the book, they don't give numbers and titles and things like this. You have to figure it out yourself if you want to after all of that is done. You can put them in categories. But it's meant to be this way so that people are alert and they're focused inshallah. So pay attention inshallah to all of these cases. فإن أخبره, if he was informed بالقبلة, with the qibla, mukallaf, someone mukallaf. Every word means here, right? It's what it's there for. So it's not a child, not someone insane. Mukallaf, someone is responsible, he's addressed by the ahkam al-shar'iyya. And we talked about the mukallaf. So mukallaf informed him about the qibla. He's mukallaf. Thiqa, trustworthy. Adlun, al-adala is, when someone is adla, it means he's righteous. To the best of your ability, you see that he's not fasiq. He's not someone that is openly committing sins. ظاهرا وباطنا, outwardly and inwardly. We don't know the inwardly, right? But this is where you can have the sense of who's that person. And sometimes the ulama, when they talk about the adala nowadays, many rulings might not even happen as a result of the lack of someone that fulfill these conditions. Like the wali of the mar'ah, the guardian of the mar'ah, has to be adl, alaykum salam, has to be righteous man. What if her father is fasiq? He shaves his beard or whatever, smokes, whatever. Then he's not a wali for her. They say this has been ma'amad bil balwa. That means so many cases like this, so it's okay in that case. But here, because now, to show the importance that now a person doesn't know the qibla, and he's going to depend on someone else to tell him where's the qibla. So not anyone, it has to be mukallaf, thiqa. You don't have to interview him or you don't have to investigate who's that person. You want to pray now and you're a stranger and you want to know where's the qibla. So just what appears to you that he's thiqa adlun ظاهرا وباطنا بيقين. He أخبره ثقة بيقين. He's informing him with certainty. He's not saying, Wallahi, I'm not sure. It seems like to be this way. That's not yaqeen. Because definitely this is the direction of the qibla. عمل به. Then he should act upon it with all of these conditions. حرا كان أو عبدا, رجلا كان أو امرأة. Whether the man was a free man or a slave, a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. As long as they fulfill these conditions. أو وجد محاريب إسلامية عمل بها. Or he finds محاريب. المحراب is the place in the masjid where they have it like this is mihrab. By the qibla of the masjid, whether it's a sign or something that they draw on the wall or it shows once you enter the masjid. And the maharib, even though there was not a clear mihrab at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but the amal was established upon this in the masajid so that nobody entered the masjid doesn't know where the qibla is. So this is initially how it was made so that people see where is the qibla. So أوجد محاريب إسلامية عمل بها. If someone comes to the masjid, a stranger, the masjid, nobody's here, and he enters the masjid, he has no problem of figuring out where the qibla is. He doesn't have to investigate and get his phone out, and this is silly. Right there, and he pray, and he faces the qibla. لأن اتفاقهم عليها مع تكرار الأعصار إجماع عليها. Because there are people agreeing upon it مع تكرار الأعصار. The repetition of time. الأعصار from العصر time-wise. One generation after the other. إجماع عليها. This is consensus upon the direction of the qibla. فلا تجوز مخالفتها حيث علمها للمسلمين ولا ينحرف. Then it's not permissible to oppose it or to go against this qibla once you know it to the Muslimin ولا ينحرف, and he's not to then move away from the direction. Some people, they become extreme in this. They come to a masjid and the masjid is already the qibla this direction, but they get their phones and it's a little bit to the right, little to the left. This is extreme. They should follow what the qibla of the masjid is. As we said, a little bit to the right or to the left, that is not to be followed. So this is if a person doesn't know the qibla. ويستدل عليها في السفر بالقطب. Now these are other means to get to know the qibla. As you know that these books, of course, written long time before other things. And that's even when people have compasses or digital compasses and things like this, not necessarily all of it is accurate, right? So you have to make sure also that it's correct. So here ويستدل عليها في السفر بالقطب. When a person is traveling, you can find evidence for the qibla بالقطب. القطب is the polar star, the North Star, right? The North Star, the brightest one. So وهو أثبت أدلتها, the most strong and firm أدلة, دليل for the qibla. لأنه لا يزول عن مكانه إلا قليلا. I mean, this is written like hundreds of years ago. Because it does not, لا يزول, this polar, this North Star does not move from its place except very little, إلا قليلا. وهو نجم خفي شمالي. It's a star that points to the north. وحوله أنجم دائرة كفراشة الرحى. And around it is أنجم. أنجم is the plural of نجم. That means stars. Surrounding it كفراشة الرحى. كفراشة الرحى. الرحى is the grinder. So they surround it. What they call it? The Milky Way. Well, I don't know. Whatever with the falak, with the astronomy. So astronomy. So كفراشة الرحى. في أحد طرفيها الجدي والآخر الفرقدان. These are names of stars. You can check that, inshallah ta'ala. What does it mean in English? It's fine. In both sides of it is the star of al-Jadi, and the other side, two stars, al-Farqadan. They call it al-Farqadan in Arabic. So if a person knows where the polar star, the North Star, يكون وراء ظهري, then you know where your direction is, you know where you are. So for example, يكون وراء ظهر المصلي بالشام. If the person is in الشام, الشام is north of Mecca. So then he give that star his back, right? Because he needs to face Mecca. وعلى عاتقه الأيسر بمصر. If he's in Misr, right? Then to make the polar star to his left, so that he can face the Kaaba in Mecca, right? So this is all some practical examples for the people at the time. So if you're in America and you have the North Pole star, you see it. How would you face the Kaaba? Anyone? If you want to face northeast, let's say northeast. So you make it to the right or to the left or what? You face it to the right? I guess no. So like this, if no other means, of course, and no one to say, well, that's in the book, so forget about everything else, and no compasses, and we have to. No one ever said these are all means to make it easy, and if there is something very easy, then it's sufficient, inshallah. And then ويستدل عليها also ويستدل على القبلة بالشمس والقمر ومنازلهما, with the sun and the moon and the manazil, the positions of the sun and the moon throughout the month. أي منازل الشمس والقمر تطلع من المشرق وتغرب بالمغرب, rises in the east and sets in the west. So this is also a way to know the direction from east and west and north and south and so on. ويستحب تعلم, it's recommended to learn أدلة القبلة, to learn the evidences, the ways of القبلة والوقت and the time. فإن دخل الوقت وخفيت عليه لزمه. Also to learn how when the time of the salah starts. It's also recommended to learn that. فإن دخل الوقت وخفيت عليه لزمه. If the time enters and it's not clear to him, then he has to learn it, or he has to know, he has to figure out where the Kaaba is, where the Qibla is. ويقلد إن ضاق الوقت. يقلد, he can imitate someone that he trusts. If the time is tight, he's not having enough time to learn and to look into the evidences of where the direction of the Qibla. Now, after that, he will talk about the one that would make ijtihad versus the one that doesn't. So he says here, وَإِنِ اجْتَهَدَ مُجْتَهِدَانِ فَاخْتَلَفَا جِهَةً. As you will see, the people when they're facing the Qibla, they want to make salah. Either they are في الحضر, they're not travelers, they're in their town or in a town, or they're outside in the outside traveling where no people are around. So if they are in town and there are people in the city that they're in, it is not permissible for them to do anything except to face the Qibla. Ijtihad is not even valid for them because they can ask people for directions. But if they're away or traveling, this is now these masail here comes in place. وَإِنِ اجْتَهَدَ مُجْتَهِدًا. Two people are making ijtihad. Mujtahid about what? Where's the Qibla? فاختلفا جهة. They differed among themselves with the direction. الجهة here, be careful, because الجهة is not التيامن والتياسر اليسير. It's not the slight right and slight left. No, someone is saying the Qibla is north and someone is saying it's south. Completely different directions. And both of them, they made ijtihad. Both of them, they looked, they, checked the directions and things like that. They put effort. And this is, both of them, they reach this conclusion, and it's opposite to one another, different directions. What's the ruling? لم يتبع أحدهما الآخر. No one should follow the other. That means what? They're going to pray alone? Yes. They don't pray jama'ah. Each one pray alone. Because you cannot, that means you're going to pray believing that you're praying against the Qibla, not facing the Qibla. Your salah is invalid. Right? And it's not something bad if they differed among themselves. They're not fighting or anything. This is what he thinks is the Qibla, the other one thinks the other way is the Qibla. Then they should not follow others' ijtihad if they both have the ability to figure out where's the Qibla. لم يتبع أحدهما الآخر. Even if they are traveling and there are three and they have an Amir. Does the Amir have to be obeyed in the Qibla? No. The Amir is to be obeyed in traveling, where to go, where to eat, where to stop. And you have to obey the Amir in traveling. But if he says you have to face this direction in Qibla in Salah, no, there's no ta'ah here in this case. If you know that this is not the direction. He says, وَإِنْ كَانَ أَعْلَمَ مِنْهُ. That means no one would follow the other, even if the other one has more knowledge than him. وَلَا يَقْتَدِي بِهِ. And he should not follow him. But again, this is with the condition they're both put effort and they both reach that conclusion. لأن كل منهما يعتقد خطأ الآخر. Because each one, he believes that the other one is wrong. ويتبع now المقلد. If someone is not going to, does everybody has to figure out where the Qibla? No. You appointed someone, so and so, you figured out for us where's the Qibla, and you trust that person. So you become muqallid to him. You imitate him. Right? And this is, by the way, in the Qibla and in the general sense of the deen. Right? A mujtahid of the deen, someone reached the level of ijtihad in the deen, it is not permissible for him to follow the other mujtahid. This is, for him, this is the deen of Allah. How can he change or follow someone else's ijtihad? Right? So this is only in the level of al-ijtihad. And the muqallid is muqallid. The muqallid, that means he's following someone that he knows better than him. So in this case, in the Qibla, وَيَتْبَعُ الْمُقَلِّدُ لِجَهْلٍ أَوْ عَمَى. The muqallid will follow. The one that imitates others, he would follow because he is ignorant of where the Qibla is, or ama, or because he's blind, he's not able to see. To imitate who? أَوْثَقُ أَوْثَقَهُمَا. So now we have these two, they're disputing. So the one that doesn't know, al-muqallid, or someone that is blind, to follow which one? أَوْثَقَهُمَا. The most trustworthy to him. Which one of them both he thinks that is most trustworthy or more knowledgeable? أي أعلمهما, more knowledgeable. Who's more knowledgeable from these two when it comes to the Qibla? Not necessarily knowledge of the deen. وأصدقهما, and who's more truthful. وأشدهما تحريا لدينه, and who's more intense in his making sure that his deen is right. Because to some people it doesn't matter. People sometimes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiver. Why you guys are making big deal of the Qibla? It doesn't matter. أينما تولوا فثم وجه الله. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So عنده, to him. لأن الصواب إليه أقرب, because the correction, for a person to be correct and sound, this is to someone that has these conditions, is closer to the truth than someone else doesn't have it. Knowledge, truthfulness, he exalts the deen. فإن تساويا خير. If they're both the same level, then he is to take, he has the choice to follow one or the other. وإذا قلد اثنين لم يرجع برجوع أحدهما. وإذا قلد اثنين, if he imitated two, لم يرجع برجوع أحدهما, he does not have to retract back by the one of them taking his ijtihad back. That means if he did and he prayed, this is valid for him. He did what he's supposed to do, because he made taqleed here in this case. So two people, they made ijtihad, opposite ijtihad, and he followed one and not the other. Then after they prayed, the second one says, I was wrong. The other guy was right. Is their salah valid or not? Their salah is valid. Because they made the salah with ijtihad, not just anything. And the one that followed him, he followed the right way. So there's no need for him to repeat the salah. And that's the importance of al-ijtihad, with the condition of ijtihad. وَمَنْ صَلَّى بِغَيْرِ ijtihad, then whoever prays without ijtihad, he did not put the effort to find where the qibla. إن كان يحسنه, if he's able to, he has the means to figure out where the qibla. He can ask, he can look at directions, he can things like this, he can get his phone out. And he prayed without ijtihad. ولا تقليد, and he did not imitate anyone. إن لم يحسن الاجتهاد, if he's not able to have the ability to think of where the qibla. قضى, he has to repeat the salah if he prayed and it was facing the qibla or not facing the qibla. قضى ولو أصاب. إن وجد من يقلده. You see this point here? Someone, negligence, he doesn't care. Traveling or resident. And he doesn't know where the qibla is. No ijtihad, he did not check where the qibla is. He did not ask anyone, he just prayed. Allahu Akbar, and he prayed. This person has to repeat the salah, even if he was facing the qibla. Why? Because he took the wrong way to make the salah without facing the qibla. Because istiqbal al-qibla is an action. It's not about the end result. Because the person is commanded to face. فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله. فولي وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام. So you are commanded to face the qibla. You're not commanded just to, it happened that you face the qibla. So that's what ومن صلى بغير اجتهاد إن كان يحسن ولا تقليد إن لم يحسن الاجتهاد قضى ولو أصاب. He would repeat make قضاء even if he was correct. إن وجد من يقلده, if he finds what someone that he can imitate or follow. فإن لم يجد أعمى أو جاهل من يقلده فتحريا وصليا فلا إعادة. If someone blind or doesn't know whatsoever how the direction of the qibla is, or how even he does not know how to figure out the direction for the qibla, and he did not find anyone to ask or anyone to follow, فتحريا, even the a'ma, he can make taharri, as he's going to mention. Someone blind, at least you have to think, or to, if there's no one to ask whatsoever, as he says here, لمس محرابا, he entered the masjid, he can touch the mihrab, things like this. So if they فتحريا, التحري is to investigate. وصليا, and they prayed, فلا إعادة, then there's no repeating for them for the salah. The salah is valid even if they faced other than the qibla. Clear? You see the differences here? وإن صلى بصير حضرا فأخطأ. If someone basir, someone is not blind, someone sees, and he prayed حضرا, that means not praying in a city, not traveling, فأخطأ, and he made a mistake by facing down the qibla. أو صلى أعمى بلا دليل من لمس محراب أو نحوه. And a blind person prayed without evidence, whether it's touching the mihrab or the like of this. And this is not a traveling person. These are people who are resident in city. أو خبر ثقة, and no trustworthy informed them. أعادة, they both have to repeat the salah. So there's difference between someone in the hadar versus someone in the safar. Someone in a town, he has to pray facing the qibla because the means are there. If there's no means, then it goes to the case of a person is a traveler. So, and if a person doesn't have the means or people are traveling, then either they make ijtihad or they imitate someone that is trustworthy. Because if they prayed without ijtihad, then they have to repeat the salah. There are many things that comes with this. For example, someone might move new in this town, for example, right? And they get a new house, and they thought that the qibla is this way, and they prayed like a month facing the wrong direction. They have to repeat their prayer of a month. Why? Because they are not travelers. So, why? Because they're supposed to ask. Because this is an easy thing. It's not a difficult thing. It's not to make the religion difficult. You're going to be staying in a place. So to figure out the qibla in that place is not a major issue. It's not a difficult thing. So different than someone is traveling and is making ijtihad, where's the qibla, this and that, and التحري in few minutes, in less than a minute, and he figured out this is most likely to be, or this is the qibla, and he prayed, and after he finished the salah, it was wrong, but he does not repeat the salah. He did what he was supposed to do. You see the difference here between الحضر والسفر. طيب last part here ويجتهد العارف بأدلة القبلة لكل صلاة. العارف بأدلة القبلة, the one that knows the evidences for the qibla and how to figure out the qibla, يجتهد, he put the اجتهاد and the effort for every صلاة. لأنها واقعة متجددة فتستدعي طلبا جديدا, because it keeps on repeating. واقعة, established, something happens. متجددة, get renewed. فتستدعي طلبا جديدا, requires, brings for the person a new effort here to be done. If there's something new, otherwise if he's in the same spot and he already made the ijtihad for the previous salah, nothing new, and there's no other means that he can take, then he can pray. This is what is meant here. And this is in the case where a person, again, is on the move or in a place where a person is not able to figure out the qibla. ويصلي بالاجتهاد الثاني لأنه ترجح في ظنه. Now the importance of al-ijtihad here. He made the ijtihad for Salat al-Dhuhr and he prayed south. After ijtihad, after the effort. And then Salatul Asr came and new evidences arised or so, and with his new ijtihad, no, it's supposed to be to the other direction. Then Salatul Asr is to pray with the second ijtihad. ويصلي بالاجتهاد الثاني لأنه ترجح في ظنه, because this is what's more evidence for him. ولو كان في صلاة, even if he's during the salah, then he moves. ويبني, and he continue, does not have to repeat the salah over, because there's difference between يبني ويستأنف. يستأنف, that means he has to break the salah and start from the beginning, versus continuing the salah. ولا يقضي ما صلى بالاجتهاد الأول. If he, in Salatul Asr, he discovered that he prayed Salatul Dhuhr in a completely opposite direction, he does not need to repeat Salatul Dhuhr. Why? Because he made ijtihad. Right? If he did not make ijtihad, then he has to repeat. He made ijtihad. He put the effort to figure out the qibla. And he's not hadar. He's not in a resident in a city. ولا يقضي ما صلى بالاجتهاد الأول لأن الاجتهاد لا ينقض الاجتهاد. This is a qaida actually even in the subject of al-ijtihad. Al-ijtihad does not negate another ijtihad. Someone made ijtihad and a alim made ijtihad in a particular matter, and he fits the criteria of a mujtahid, and he give a verdict about something, and then after that the ijtihad was changed. That does not negate the first one if its already actions has been built on it. But with the new one, of course, they have to change, right? So people should not retract back and say, oh, this contract is not valid, give me my money back, for example. Already it was done with ijtihad, valid one. So al-ijtihad لا ينقض الاجتهاد. ومن أخبر فيها بالخطأ يقينا لزم قبوله. Whoever is informed in the salah or for the qibla بالخطأ, that he made a mistake يقينا, with certainty, then it's obligatory upon him to accept it. وإن لم يظهر لمجتهد جهة في السفر صلى على حسب حاله. The last thing here, مجتهد, and he's taking the efforts and all kinds of things, but it was not clear to him what's the direction of the qibla. What should he do? صلى على حسب حاله. He prays with whatever his status. He's not to say, well, I'm not going to pray because I can't figure out the qibla. No, you have to pray anyway. And you made ijtihad, but you still can't really have certainty where's the direction of the qibla, then pray. And if you prayed in this case, and then after he finished the salah, someone told him the qibla is this way or that way, he is not to repeat the salah. Because he made the ijtihad. Again, it's all about the ijtihad. If a person made ijtihad, safar, away from towns, away from people, even if it's more than one person, their salah is valid, they don't need to repeat it, versus someone in town. And that's the end of the subject of istiqbal al-qibla. And then the last condition next time, inshallah, with regard to an-niyyah, inshallah ta'ala. It took a long time. The attendance code is Ahlul Qibla. The attendance code is Ahl al-Qibla. I'm not sure if there are any questions or. In this case, he's in his house and he's in his place and he started the salah and he moved from one rak'ah to the other and he discovered that he was praying wrong. He has to start over again. That's different than someone does not know where the qibla is, or he has an excuse. As we said, someone is traveling, or he asked and they told him this, and he was praying according to his ijtihad. Someone told him, oh, by the way, the qibla is the other direction. Then he moves in the salah, then his salah is valid. But in one's house resident, that means he did something wrong. So he has to repeat it over. Forgot or so it means he has to start the salah over now. They were correct. And that's one of the things with the phones. You should not really trust it too much, or sometimes we overlook it. Usually, if this is again, this is the place where this is their place. Right, right. This is their place, and they're in town and things like this. So they should be trusted in these matters. And in general, to be away from all of these things, if a person is in a town and he prayed wrong, he has to repeat his salah. Allahu A'lam. Shortly, inshallah, how about we are visiting someone's house and they place a sajda, a sajada for the person, but after salah they say this was the wrong direction. But they didn't ask to verify, they just assume this is in the direction, so do they need to repeat the salah? The answer is yes. Allahu A'lam. Could you please share on the issue of praying in car while in passenger seat or while stopped of drivers? Now, the issue of a person praying in the car, nafl. If a person is traveling, as we said, if he's traveling and the car is moving and they're going somewhere, then they can pray in a car sitting. And if they can't face the Qibla to say the Takbiratul Ihram, then that's fine. But that's for the nafl salah. That's for the nafl salah, not the fard salah. Is there a certain amount of incorrectness in the direction of the Qibla at which point a person needs to repeat their prayer? Again, if it's north versus east versus like the four major directions, yes. But if it's between the north and the east, slightly this way, that way, it doesn't invalidate the salah. The slight moves, it's not major differences in the validation of the salah. No, no. With the nafl, the majority are upon that it has to be traveling. But some, they took the opinion that the Prophet ﷺ did it while traveling, but for nafl can be prayed also in the car, being in town, even in your own town. And from the previous ulama, Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah used to do that also. طيب وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. إن شاء الله نستعين.